Now, earlier this week, the last Republican plan to repeal Obamacare died as they couldn't secure enough Republican votes to take away health care from millions of Americans. Wonderful. Now, since it is now dead, those who were involved in it are saying, what? No, who, me? No, I didn't want to take your health care. In fact, I had no idea that the bill would actually do that. I had no idea what was actually in the bill. I had no idea what I was doing. Really? Yes, really. Turns out the lead author of the measure, known as Graham Cassidy, this would be Lindsey Graham, the Graham in Graham Cassidy, claims that he had no idea, no clue what he was doing when pushing for Graham Cassidy. This is amazing. Now, this is according to Ryan Grimm for The Intercept. He was writing for The Intercept. He said, Graham said he was not alone in his lack of understanding healthcare. This is Trump all over again. Nobody knew healthcare would be so complicated. I couldn't believe it. He said, nobody in our conference believes Obamacare works. It must be replaced. But until now, we didn't know how to do it. And then why are you trying to do it? If you had no plan, which is obvious that you didn't, and you didn't understand how it works, then why would you do it? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Now look, first off, you're actually wrong on that. And it's demonstrable that you're wrong. Obamacare is actually working in its intended framework. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't have a ton of issues. I've talked about those on the show all the time. Now, I believe that these issues could be fixed by expanding Medicare to everyone to actually have a real universal system and to fix the problems with for-profit healthcare. But on Lindsey Graham, you're going to rail against this bill or this law for 7 years, and yet you have no idea what to replace it with. What an idiot. This guy's a monumental moron. All right. Now, a reporter pointed this out, and she actually asked him about it. And he said, quote, well, I've been doing it for about a month. Wait, so trying to plan out and to learn and figure out how to replace the ACA? You were on it for about a month. Wow. But he said, quote, I thought everyone else knew what the hell they were talking about, but apparently not. Graham clarified, adding that he had assumed, quote, these really smart people will figure it out. These really smart people will figure it out. Oh my God. Hey man, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I thought there were smart people here to take care of that, because I'm obviously not one of them. No shit. Oh, it's ridiculous. And look, the guy, I thought he was supposed to be some sort of healthcare wonk, that he was actually supposed to know. But no, you didn't know what the bill was about or the impact it would have. And look, nobody knew what the impact would be because they tried to ram it through before the CBO could actually fucking score it. God, this is ridiculous. All this is basically doing is admitting that their entire plan for 7 years was to run around screaming, Obamacare bad, and then do nothing about it. And then suddenly the American people are, you know what? You got a point. We're going to give you a chance to do something. Oh, shit. I didn't think they'd actually vote for us. Yeah, well, that's what happened. And now, basically, you're caught with your bare ass hanging out. Ugh. And look, they never had a replacement, a real replacement, because the last few plans were absolutely abhorrent, cobbled together pieces of shit that they threw together last minute from all their grab bag of different conservative heritage, think tanks and foundations and bullshit. Like, I don't know, let's try that. We'll see if high risk pools work. No, we've already tried high risk pools. They don't work, and they're actually terrible. Oh well, we'll try to block grant to the states. No, that's also terrible and also doesn't work. I don't know, let's throw it in there anyway. They have no idea what they're doing. And look, the reason they have no idea what they're doing is because, and why they didn't have a healthcare plan, is because Barack Obama and the Democrats essentially already stole their healthcare plan. It's called Obamacare. That's their healthcare plan. But anyway, now get this. While millions of Americans were worried about their existing healthcare coverage, right? Apparently Lindsey Graham was actually off really enjoying himself when it comes to learning about other healthcare systems. He said, quote, I've enjoyed this more than anything. I've learned so much about healthcare in other states. Pennsylvania, Alaska, Ohio. He said, adding that that he even learned about his own state, South Carolina, where, quote, we have 11 predominantly African-American counties, that have unique healthcare needs, and one size doesn't fit all, even within your state. I also looked at the history of welfare reform, and I think we can replicate that here. Sure, because it worked out so well when it came to welfare. Even Bill Clinton called that a mistake. Wonderful. But anyway, look, what's funny about this, and Graham said it earlier, is that he wasn't the only one who was clueless about this very, very important piece of legislation. Turns out a lot of senators, as I said, had no idea what was in the bill. And when Graham realized that, he's like, well, I got to come up with something. I know, I'm going to meet up with Rick Santorum. He's going to meet up with Frothy, okay, to try and figure out healthcare. Oh, this is going to be great. Now, he said this idea came from a conversation at a barbershop. Oh, where all great ideas come from, a barbershop. Rick Santorum, I was getting my hair cut, and he says, you know, you've got an opt-out bill. Opt out of Obamacare if you don't like it. Take the money and do state-controlled systems, except for single-payer. They banned that. Why don't you do what we did with welfare reform in '96, which is basically take the same amount of money and block grant it. Again, for one, that's a terrible idea. Block granting money to the states basically gives the state the power to allocate the money basically wherever it sees fit. Now, some people will be like, well, what's bad about that? Well, it's not bad if you're in a state like California that actually might use that money, or very, very likely to use that money for healthcare, because they're a progressive state. However, in places like Kansas, Louisiana, Alabama, or even South Carolina, well, the Republicans, they're in Republican-controlled states. They'll just take that money and be like, tax cuts for the rich, we're going to plug our budget hole, and healthcare, you know, we don't care about that. Sad. So good luck if you need healthcare if you're living in those states. Odds are you're not going to get it. You're going to get dick. Now, with all this talk about Lindsey Graham actually learning things, well, what did he learn? He said, we now have an idea that I think Republicans understand and the average person can understand. Well, I think the average person understands something about the GOP and their healthcare plans. You know what they figured out? That they suck. And that the Republicans have no good ideas when it comes to healthcare. That's why all these repeal bills had such low approval ratings. While interestingly enough, there is a bill out there from the progressive side that has a lot of detail from someone you might have possibly heard of who ran for the Democratic nomination, which would expand a little program called Medicare, which happens to be incredibly popular. Maybe politicians should start looking into that. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.